Hi, I'm Pastor Ryan, and today we have a wonderful story for you about the first Easter. I'm so excited to start talking about this, so let's get started. Our story begins 2,000 years ago in Jerusalem. We're at the palace, and these are the soldiers. Dun 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 dun! We must find Jesus. Next, I want you to meet my best friend, Jesus. Hey, I see him over there. You must come with us. You will be in our custody. Okay. So they took Jesus under their control and they got ready to crucify him. Hey, wait for me! The soldiers made Jesus wear a crown of thorns. Hey, wear this. Put this crown of thorns on, Jesus. And then they put a cross on him that said, King of the Jews, and they made him carry it around the streets. It was a very heavy cross. And sometimes he even fell over. They made Jesus carry the heavy cross all through the streets of Jerusalem while everyone was watching. They walked a long ways, and finally Jesus kept falling over. Hey, get up! Hey, get up! And finally the guard said, hey, one of your friends, come and carry the cross. So one of his friends came up and said, I will carry the cross. And so his friend carried the cross so that Jesus wouldn't have to carry the cross anymore. Thank you, Simon. And so they kept walking, and eventually they came to the hill that was called Golgotha. Pretty soon they got to the place where they were going, and they took the cross and they put Jesus on the cross. And everybody gathered around, and the guards were watching, and all of his friends were lining up there too, and they were all so sad. And it got darker and darker and darker, and pretty soon it became night. And just before Jesus was about to die, he forgave everyone, and the clouds in the sky grew dark, and weird things started to happen. And the head soldier even got off of his horse, and he knelt down in front of Jesus, and he said, surely this is the Son of God. And in the morning, they took Jesus off the cross. And they took him to the place where he would be buried. And they took Jesus all the way to the place where he would be buried. We're here. And when they got there, they took Jesus off, and they put him all the way inside, and then they rolled a gigantic rock, or maybe a whole bunch of rocks. Hey, move this with me. So that nobody could get in there, and then they left 2 guards waiting outside just to make sure that no one would come and steal his body. And after a few days, his friends came out to the tomb to look at his burial place. His friends went into the tomb to look, and guess what? Jesus was not there. He was not in the tomb. He was gone. And the soldiers said, "How can this be? How can it be that he's not here? We have been here the whole time. No one has gotten in. No one has moved the rock. How is it that he isn't here?" And his friends were astonished, and they said, "Well, what should we do?" And so they decided that they would just keep walking around and find the rest of their friends. Magdalene was walking down the road, and she was walking so diligently. Walk, 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 walk. Walk, walk. And she thought she saw somebody on the road in front of her. She thought it might be a gardener. And she said, hey you, are you a gardener?" And he turned around and he walked over to her and he said, "Mary." And all of a sudden, she realized it was Jesus. Jesus had risen from the dead. And later the disciples came back too, and they also saw Jesus. It was true. They all saw Jesus, and he had risen from the dead. Some of the disciples did not believe, though, and Jesus had to show them the nails in his hands and the marks on his body before they would actually believe that it was Jesus. And they were so happy. They had the best time with Jesus. And then one day, Jesus sat them all down and said, "My friends, I have some important news for you. I want you to go make disciples and to teach and preach people. I am going to go to heaven and prepare a place for you to join me sometime, but I want you to start going into all the world and preaching and teaching. Do you think you could do that for me?" And they said, "Oh, yes, Jesus, we would love to do that." And they gave Jesus hugs. "Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus." And they started preaching and teaching to everyone. And soon, lots of people, even people you might have never believed, came to get to know Jesus. They came from everywhere to hear the preaching from his disciples. The disciples would preach all over the place and tell of how God loved everyone. And soon many people came to know Jesus and were baptized. "Hey, do you want to get baptized?" "Uh-huh." "Okay, you're baptized. I will get rid of this knife now." "Hey, I want to be baptized." "Okay, you're baptized. Can we also go tell other people about God?" "Yeah, you can tell other people about God." And then pretty soon, they started telling other people about God, and so many people came to know Jesus. And after a while, many people got to know Jesus and got to love him and have a relationship with him.